It's time for the Commish Chronicle with your host and your commissioner, Mr. Ninja. Thank you once again, and welcome once again to the Commish Chronicle. I'm your commissioner and your host, Mr. Ninja. We don't want to waste any time because these videos unfortunately can get long, so we are going to jump right in. So Commish Chronicle Week 6. We are running right along here. In 12th, for the first time, we have a change in last place. Not a good thing for North Korea as they drop from 11th to 12th, losing Mr. Ninja Express and Halifax Highlanders last 2 weeks. Just really not looking great. A couple tough matchups coming up for the next 2 weeks for them. Going to be in tough. And a key stat right now for North Korea is that they are bottom 2 in assists, points, power play points, and shots on goal. And in shots on goal, they haven't won a single week. They're 0-6 right now. Surprisingly, they are also bottom 2 in goals against average, but they have won 5 out of their 6 weeks in goals against average. It just goes to show you that sometimes the matchups that you get can just be favorable to the category or the stat. So, I mean, it could look even worse for North Korea if not for that stat. But yeah, also bottom in, like I said, in goals against average save percentage. And they also have 0 shutouts. They're one of only 2 teams in the entire league with no shutouts. The other one is going to surprise you, but that's a little teaser for later. As we move on to 11th, Halifax Highlanders. Can't be too far up, but a big rebound couple of weeks for Halifax Highlanders, so I got to give them credit where credit's due. A 6-6 tie to Messi guarantee, and then the battle for that last spot, if you want to look at it that way, against North Korea, beating North Korea 7-3. That's really the difference between them being last again here or being in 11th in these power rankings. Key stat as we look ahead for Halifax Highlanders. First of all, looking actually next 2 weeks, tough weeks against the replacements and Batman returns. See what happens with Halifax Highlanders, but again, it doesn't get any easier for them. But yeah, the key stat, they're only above 500 in all of their head-to-head matches. Only above 500 in the plus-minus category. Everything else is 500 or worse, and most of them are worse. It's been a rough go for Halifax Highlanders. Let's see if they rebound. It's been a good couple weeks. They won one, undefeated in 2 weeks. Let's see if they can keep this rolling. As we move on to 10th, it's our year. It's our year, dropping down from 7th last week. I had given them a boost last week. Unfortunately, they did not keep that momentum at all against a couple tougher teams. And that drops them right back down to 10th. Big loss, 10-1 to the replacements. And then another loss to a very strong Batman returns team. That means they've lost their last 2 weeks in a row. They're 10th in the standings. They're still 3-3 head-to-head. But those losses, 2 of their 3 losses have been very lopsided, and their wins have been very tight, which still keeps them very low in the standings and low in these power rankings. A key stat for It's Our Year. They are a league worst plus-minus of -46 on the season across their players. -46. Really bad. That being said, very interesting. Their skaters are 3rd in goals, but they are 11th in assists. So 3rd in goals, 11th in assists. Lots of scoring being done, not lots of passing. So maybe their skaters got to get a little bit more unselfish and distribute around. And I'm sorry, It's Our Year, but that week 5 loss for the replacements is the lopsided loss of week 5. Crazy. As we move on, it is Yaz in 9th. Yaz, last rank was 6th. They've dropped down to 9th. 2 pretty significant losses to Thunder Down Under and Grisky's All-Stars, and that's been enough to drop them all the way down to 11th in the standings. Pretty bad for them. A streak of 2 losses, but 2 tough matchups coming up against Mr. Ninja Express and Curiosity Code to Brinkat. It's not going to get any easier for Yaz right now, and their key stat is that they are league worst in goals and shots on goal by 46 for shots on goal. Oh, and goals against average, league worst. So not good for Yaz. That's an especially surprising stat when you consider that Yaz right now has the league's leading goal scorer in Austin Matthews on their team, and they're worst in both goals and shots on goal. Hard to believe where they might be if not for Matthews. And Yaz, you are the lopsided loss of week 6 with that 8-2 loss to whoever that was, Grisky's All-Stars. You were, if not for the replacements taking down It's Our Year, you were in dangerous territory of having a double lopsided loss of the week. So thank God you didn't get that. As we move on to 8th, which is Messier Guarantee. They hold strong in 8th. They are a very funny head-to-head record of 2-2-2. They tied each of their last 2 weeks, 6-6 to Halifax Highlanders, 5-5 to the replacements. Their streak is tied too, but they are winless in 4 weeks. They started off 2-0 at the start of the season. They have not won a week since. It has not been great for Messier Guarantee, but those 2 ties keep them right in the middle of that pack and 7th in the standings overall. They are up against a very strong Bettman Returns team who's currently 3rd in the standings this coming week. And then a very interesting matchup, I think, against Thunder Down Under, which may have each of those teams kind of determine where we really feel like they're at on this season. Key stat for Messier Guarantee. They're actually top 3 in hits, goals against average, and save percentage. Very strong in each of those categories, and their goalies have been good. But even with the goals against average and save percentage, they are league worst in wins, goalie wins, I believe, with 11, and they're 0-6 in the goals category. To put that in perspective, all the points-based categories, every team has at least 1 win in every points-based category. So goals, assists, points, power play points, things like that. Messier Guarantee 0-6 in goals. In fact, I believe every single team in the league has won at least twice in head-to-head matchups in goals. So for Messier Guarantee, a team that over the last few seasons has generally been very strong in points, for them to be 0-6 in goals is very surprising. So we'll see if they can turn that around. As we move on to 7th, which is Thunder Down Under. Thunder Down Under, maybe I sold them short last week. Last rank, 11th, back up to 7th. It's the biggest jump of all the teams in these rankings, spoiler alert. But from 11th to 7th, in my opinion, even though they lost last week, a couple strong weeks for Thunder Down Under with a big 8-3 win over Yaz, and then a really, really tight 6-5 loss to Return of Captain Thick Nick, who has been very strong so far this season. So that brings Thunder Down Under up to 9th in the standings, and a big reason they're up in 7th is more so with what the teams that have done around them and how they've done against those teams as well. So that jumps them up to 7th. Let's see if they can keep it there. They've got 2 interesting matchups against It's Our Year, Messier Guarantee. 2 teams around where they should be in the standings right now. See where they can put themselves. But key stat, they lead the league. They lead the league in plus minus, wins, and shutouts. Tied for shutouts right now. They have 21 goalie wins, which is three better than the next best team, and they have 3 shutouts in those 21 wins. And again, a league best plus minus. That being said, they're the only team that is 0-6 in both hits and blocks. So listen, this team on the goalie side of things, lots of wins, lots of shutouts happening. They are middling in a lot of the skater stats, but the hits and blocks, not doing it right now for Thunder Down Under. Maybe it's not in the cards for them on that side of things, but hopefully their offense can pick it up. As we move on to 6th, the replacements. Big jump up for the replacements as well. Last rank was 9th, up to 6th this week. Still a 2-3-1 head-to-head record, so technically below 500. But they're 4th in the standings, and that's because their wins have been very lopsided, including that big win to It's Our Year. That's as easy as it can be to jump up in the standings with significant wide margin wins like that 10-1 victory over It's Our Year. So their streak right now, tied 1, undefeated in 2. See if the replacements can keep it going. They've shown strong things, and they have 2 matchups against the worst 2 teams, at least in these power rankings, for the next 2 weeks. So Halifax Highlanders and North Korea, the 2 worst head-to-head records in the league as well. So the replacements, a great opportunity to continue to add to that 4th in the standings and to their power ranking. Key stat for them, 2nd in goals against average for their goalie stats, and their power play points tied with one other team at 5-0-1. 5-0-1 right now for the replacements. Have not lost the power play points category yet this season. As we move on to 5th, it's Mr. Beninja Express. Last rank again, they hold strong at 5th. 3-3 head-to-head record. A big victory over Thunder Down Under. 9. Wait, that I don't actually think that's right. Yeah, these are not right. So forget that. They lost to Curiosity Guild to Brinkat last week, and I forget who they beat the previous week, but they did that. So forget that. Sorry to Thunder Down Under on that one. But the next 2 weeks, they do have Yaz. That is at least is correct. And then a very tight matchup, very interesting matchup for them as they take on Return of Captain Thick Nick, currently 4-2 on the year. Key stats for them. They lead the league in hits by 84, which is pretty significant, and they lead the league in blocks. They're 6-0 in both of those categories. Have not lost either of those categories so far this season. That being said, they're 2nd worst in plus minus and 0-6 in all head-to-head matchups in plus minus. And possibly most surprisingly, they have 0 head-to-head goalie wins so far this season. Their total goalie wins are 12. 3 of them are shutouts, which is tied for the league lead in shutouts. So 25% of the wins that Mr. Beninja Express's goalies have put out have been shutouts. It's going to be tough going through the next 2 weeks. They've lost Tage Thompson and Timo Meyer. Who knows how long, but that's 2 of their 3 keepers down the drain right now. See if they can maintain that 5th ranking. If not, it won't be good. 4th, Return of Captain Thick Nick. Their last rank, also 4th, staying strong, 2nd in the standings still. But the reason they're still sitting in 4th, because they had that 8-3 loss to Bettman Returns, one of the matchups of the week for that week. That was one that we were going to be watching, and Bettman Returns came up with a big victory over Return of Captain Thick Nick. But then they rebound with a tight 6-5 victory over Thunder Down Under. So we'll see how they do as we go into 2 very tough matchups for Return of Captain Thick Nick the next 2 weeks. Gritsky's All-Stars and Mr. Beninja Express, 2 teams around them here in the power rankings. See what they can do. But Return of Captain Thick Nick, somehow, some way, once again, really killing it when it comes to the points. They lead the league in assists, total points, and power play points. And with power play points, they lead by 20 points in power play points. That's significant. They're focusing on getting those players who get a lot of power play time, and they are capitalizing on that opportunity. So good on them for doing that. Oh, and they also lead the league. I am struggling with that in shots on goal. So 4 of 12 stats, Return of Captain Thick Nick leading the league. That being said, they're also a league worst in hits and goalie wins. And they're among the lowest in certain other stats as well. So what they do well, they do really well. What they do bad, they do really bad. So let's see if Return of Captain Thick Nick can keep up their strengths and maybe strengthen their weaknesses. See what happens. As we move on into the top 3, it is Bettman Returns. Wait, No, it's not. It is Gretzky's All-Stars. I was going to say, that's incorrect. Gretzky's All-Stars actually in second in third this week. I'm all over the place. Last rank was second. This week, they are third. It's not Bettman Returns. Gretzky's All-Stars, again, in one of the matchups of the week against the top team in the league right now, Curiosity Killed DeBrincat, an 8-3 loss. Rebounding that with an 8-2 lopsided loss of the week win over Yaz. So Gretzky's All-Stars staying strong up in that top echelon of teams, in my humble opinion. And like I said, a very important matchup here against return of Captain Thick Nick, who is currently second in the standings. And of course, I didn't also include Gretzky's All-Stars, sixth in the standings right now, but still staying in the top 3 in these rankings. Key stat, they rank middle of the pack in almost all of their stats. They're really not bottom dwellers in any stat that I could see. But it is worth noting that they are second in plus minus right now. So that plus minus stat, they're doing very strong. And they've been top 3, top 5 in several other stats as well. So it's hard to pick out one particular thing with Gretzky's All-Stars. They're just very, very consistent all the way across the board. I think that's why they're still maintaining an above 500 overall record and staying high in these power rankings. As we move on, not yet. It's the matchup of the week. Up against return of Captain Thick Nick. Of course, it's the matchup of the week. Third in these power rankings versus fourth. I think it's going to really separate them, and it's going to impact our next power rankings, no doubt. We'll see what happens. As we move on, now I have it correct. Bettman Returns is in second this week. They move up from their last rank of third. The last 2 rankings, they've been third. They finally move up 1 into second. 4-2 head-to-head record. In my opinion, thus far, they have had the toughest go in terms of their schedule. Now they're coming into what I deem to be a bit of an easier portion of their schedule, based on the stats that we've been seeing. But currently sitting third in the standings. They had a win over return of Captain Thick Nick, 8-3. Again, that was a matchup of the week win. And then a 7-5 win over It's Our Year. Next 2 weeks, Messier Guarantee and Halifax Highlanders. I think Bettman Returns has a very good chance of continuing on with this momentum. Their key stat, they lead the league in goals right now. I believe they have 90 goals across their entire team. Very, very strong. They're second in points and shots on goal as well. So again, very, very strong skaters, very offensive team. And generally with that comes being bottom 2 in hits and blocks. Seems like they're probably okay with giving up the hits and blocks as long as they're taking home a lot of those point-based categories and offensive categories. So very, very strong on that front. And again, you know, this isn't a surprise to anybody. It's Curiosity Killed DeBrincat, who is first overall in these power rankings. 49, 16, and 7 overall record. They're 6-0 head-to-head. By far, right now, the top team in the league. Nobody's touching them. 2 wins back-to-back, 8-3 over what I believe are 2 of some of the stronger teams in this league, Gretzky's All-Stars and Mr. Benninja Express. The next 2 weeks, it gets easier. They are up against this week North Korea, 1-5, the worst head-to-head record in the league versus the best head-to-head record in the league. If North Korea can do something here, it would be a massive, massive upset. I don't see it happening. I would have my money on Curiosity Killed DeBrincat being 8-0 when we get through these next 2 weeks. But we'll see what happens. Anything can happen in the HFXHL. Key stat, margin of victory has been 5 or greater in 5 of their 6 weeks. That's crazy. And again, the stats go on. They're top 2 in goalie wins, goals against average and save percentage, first overall in goals against average. They're above 500 in 9 of the 12 categories. That's including shutouts, which is almost impossible to be over 500 in. Just crazy. But one of the funnier stats is that while they're second in wins with 18, none of them have been shutouts. Only Curiosity Killed DeBrincat and North Korea, who they play this week, they're the only 2 teams so far to have a goalie not post a shutout on the season. very interesting, kind of a fun stat. We'll see if one of them can break that curse and get an extra win out of this coming week. But I digress. Here's the overall standings. I added some nice green and red to indicate where guys have increased or decreased in the standings. But our podium: first overall, Curiosity Code to Bring Cat; second, Batman Returns; and third, Kriski's All Stars, following it the rest of the group. Thank you so much, and have a great couple weeks. I will see you in week 8.